Our next new item is 10, Breese Stevens Capital Improvement Update. We have an informational, hi Mike.
Hello.
Welcome.
Hello, everyone. I'm Mike Sturm. I'm a landscape architect with Planning and Development Parks Division. Some of you might recognize me. So I'm happy to provide an update on the Phase 3 facility improvements at Breese Stevens Field. So some of you might be asking, why Phase 3? Why not Phase 1? Well, Phase 1 was essentially a facility report that was completed in 2017. And that report provided a variety of recommendations for future improvements to Breese Stevens Field, identifying operational requirements, but then also identifying essentially long-term maintenance items that need to be addressed at the historic stadium. Phase 2, if you recall, was I was here about a year ago. I presented Phase 2, which was essentially the addition of a concessions restroom building on the infield side of the stadium. So we were going through that process of landmarks approval and state historic society approval on those changes. Now I'm here to present the Phase 3 improvements, which literally build upon Phase 2. So this is Breese Stevens Field. To the bottom of the screen, you'll see that that's East Washington Avenue. Along this edge, that's like Patterson, then East Midland along the top of the page. So this is what we often refer to as the 1925 section of the stadium. That was the first portion of the stadium that was built. And then this is the 1934 section, and then the exterior historic wall that you see, the stone wall itself, is also built in 34. So the Phase 2 improvements included this bump out here. So that is essentially, that's that new concessions restroom building. So it's roughly 3,700 square feet. 2,500 square feet of that is commercial kitchen space. The remainder is for accessible public restrooms at the field elevation. We currently don't have those restrooms. That is under construction now. All those approvals were secured last season, essentially. The Phase 3 improvements incorporate spectator amenities in the 1925 section, and also some changes at the field elevation. So I'll kind of work through those items. We'll start with the 1925 section. So again, this is that restroom building, that bump out that's being built now. What's proposed for Phase 3 are spectator improvements under that historic canopy. Right now, there literally aren't seats there. There are simply concrete steps that go up. We're introducing bleacher seating. We're working with the operator as far as a variety of options for spectator engagement, where there might be drink rails along one area. Well, actually, we kind of anticipate that there will be drink rails along the one particular area. This is sort of one of the new sort of hospitality amenities that we provided in these types of facilities. One of the bigger changes is that we are providing access on top of that concession stand. This was sort of part of the original vision when we were identifying where that concession restroom building might go. And then we had some concerns about what was going to be happening on the back side. Well, essentially, that's all going to be raised up to one elevation. We're not modifying the structure. That's one of the key tenets of a landmark facilities, is to not modify the existing structure we're building upon it. But essentially, when visitors come to Breese Stevens Field, they'll be able to walk up here and actually walk up to the edge and have a really tremendous view of either the athletic game or the outdoor open air performance or whatever festival that's going on. It really is going to provide a unique vantage point at Breese. This is a little lift here that's sort of identifying it. We're including a variety of accessible amenities as far as ramping and a lift and another accessible ramp from what we often refer to as sort of the mezzanine, that raised elevation all the way around. We're providing much more access points throughout the whole 1925 section. So we're really improving mobility through that space. This sort of illustrates that the concept of how spectators will be able to access this raised elevation portion and still go underneath that historic canopy, no modifications to the canopy. And again, this sort of, there's a cross section that sort of how that occurs, the additional ramping. I should mention that all these improvements associated with Phase 3 have gone to State Historic Preservation Office. I don't know, I guess it's the design commission for the city of Madison. So they've gone through all those approvals. We've had a neighborhood meeting about the changes. And you kind of see, again, those accessibility improvements that we're looking at, and how that kind of extends like that, sort of illustrating, again, that new bump out, and how spectators and visitors to the facility will be able to kind of walk out and kind of have this vantage point over the field.
I'm sorry, Mike, that's available to anyone who's inside the building?
So, there's a few items related to that. So, we're working, these changes are in concert with the current operator for top events. So, depending on the event, there's different ticket pricing. So, and that's sort of under the operator's purview on how they kind of manage ticket sales. But it is considered going to be, and we're working with them in identifying where there are these more community festival events where there's just general admission to that zone. But in particular, I think that for the professional soccer team that's coming in 2019 forward Madison, there are going to be differences in ticketing costs. So there's and that's pretty typical for this type of arrangement. The images here sort of illustrate the new bleacher seating that will be underneath that 25 section, sort of that different grub condition, and also just kind of the field, the soccer field, the signage that's associated with that. And then also there's a new bleacher addition on the far east end. Just sort of a standard parks bleacher addition at the far east end of the field. This is really trying to hit the capacity numbers that are necessary for a professional soccer team to operate on Breese Stevens Field. There are some more minor changes that are happening to some of the door entries along the facade, in particular along North Patterson and East Midland. You can see these are the existing conditions, and what's being proposed is that there's doors with both main doors and then also overhead doors that have vision glass in them. And that's just sort of to activate that. These changes were also approved by the Land Use Commission. So for the field changes, we are anticipating some additional pavement at the far east end of the field. This has been sort of an ongoing maintenance issue. The far east end of the field does not have artificial turf on it. It's simply lawn. And with the amount of tractor trailer access for some of these larger music performances and other staging for smaller community events, the lawn we really can't keep it intact. It's quite muddy. So there is, we are working towards having some additional asphalt area added to this far east end of the field with a new stormwater detention facility, a new structure, an underground structure that's going to sort of address those concerns. We've been working closely with City of Madison Engineering on the stormwater, the potential for stormwater runoff from this site with the additional impervious, and they've helped us sort of sculpt exactly what is the best possible solution to Breese. So there's going to be an underground detention structure at the far east end of the field. So at this point, I think I kind of gave a quick overview of all the improvements. I'm happy to take any questions.
Any questions? Yes, I have a question about the asphalt. How much of that lawn would be converted?
Yeah, certainly. So the plan here sort of illustrates the darker shade area. That's turf that will remain. And then essentially this wider zone will be the additional impervious. And you can see it's identified as sort of a flex space because it's sort of it's an area that is used for a variety of configurations for the stadium. And just with vehicles moving, just the amenities set up and so forth, turf just doesn't stand up to that.
And the ingress egress is from the 20th Street?
Yes, that is really our primary access point. We really are only 2 gates into Breese Stevens Field. This is the smaller gate down here. It's that is the main gate, that's roughly about 14 feet wide. This is a 16-foot gate, and this is our only access point. So that's what drives a lot of.
But if something heavy is coming in, it's coming in.
Exactly. When the Doobie Brothers come, that's what they're coming over there. So, so does that help answer your question?
Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much.
There's no action to be taken on this matter, so we could keep us up to.
Yeah, Mike's just updating on phase 3. You got from the phase 1, as he said, was the approved facility plan, and we worked that through the process again, and yet again. But certainly we're excited about it. Come to fruition. Alder Zellers is here, so I'll try to steal back my term. But what we all set out here, I think, is commission to do, preservation through purpose. I think it's coming to reality where the city's insulated from the cost associated with a historic asset, which can be very costly to maintain, and it's going to get hundreds of thousands of users. I think that's mostly the way. And certainly there are always those elements of concern when you have a profit component or even just a cost component as far as equity and access. But I do think some of the key things there with the operators we have, to remind folks of this, the East High School is still using the facility. There's still a number of free and open to the public, at least events you can go to. Certainly there are things that cost money there at the bodegas and the like. But there's an opportunity to experience the stadium in ways that previously when we had it ourselves weren't happening. And so I want to recognize that. But that's all I had as far as my 2 cents.